What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of the Premier League Spur-Spective, which is the review show from Predict the Prem, where me and Sim go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. We've got scores on the doors as well, which is 203 to Sim, 223 to myself. And the way the scoring works, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 3 points for 1 point for a correct result, and the star man as well, which is 5 points for a goal, 3 points for an assist. And once you pick that man, you cannot pick them again. And let's get straight into it, starting with the early kickoff on the Saturday, which was Aston Villa against Arsenal. It finished 4-2 to Arsenal. Sim went 0-0. I went 1-0 to Villa. And, for the most part of the game, I looked all right for a point, at least, for Villa to win the game. I thought that Villa started the game well in the first half, played well, shackled Arsenal for the most part, but I think when the second half came, it felt like goals were coming for Arsenal, and that's what they did. I mean, they only scored from like worldies outside the box, missed a few really notable chances from Odegaard and Nketiah and stuff like that. But I think Arsenal, I think they got a bit fortuitous with the way the win came with that Jorginho shot, and it went off the back of Martinez's head, and obviously Martinez goes up for the corner and they get that goal in the last minute with the open goal with Martinelli. But as much as that was fortuitous, I still think they deserve the win.
I think for the pressure they put on Aston Villa in that second half, you've got to give them credit. Being 2-1 down, especially given their run of form, it would have been a lot easier to have, chopped this game down to another game where you're dropping points. But they did really well to fight back. However, what I would say is, first of all, their defence definitely looks a bit more shaky than it has done throughout the whole season. They were being got at quite a bit in that first half. Then in the second half as well, at 2-2, it was anyone's game. And
Leon Bailey hits the post.
Leon Bailey hits the bar. I think Duran also had a really good effort, which was saved by Ramsdale. And then Nketiah goes through. He goes around the keeper, but he hits it over the bar. So it was kind of blow for blow, and it was about who was going to kind of come out on top. I think going to the last few minutes in stoppage time, Villa were kind of like settling for a point, and maybe that cost them because they lost that threat going forward. But I think for the last 15 minutes or so, could have easily gone either way. Yeah. And so Arsenal a bit fortunate in that aspect that it went their way. But fair play to them because they kept going right to the end. They kept playing their way and putting pressure on Aston Villa, and they got the bit of luck that their play would arguably deserved, and they needed that because with I think 4 games in all competitions without a win, to get that over the line in the manner they did will give them a lot of belief again. But if they drop points next game, then I think winning means nothing.
Yeah, if Man City do get the job done. But let's move on. Let's go to Brentford against Crystal Palace. Finished 1-1 on the day. Both of us went for 2-0 to Brentford. And what you got to say is fair play to Crystal Palace for going to the Brentford Community Stadium and coming away with a point, to be fair.
Yeah, very good point. Brentford in great form. To be fair, for a team like Brentford, they keep their unbeaten run going. They got the goal literally last kick of the game, Yano with a really good header. So they'll be delighted with that point. And for a team like Brentford, keeping that unbeaten run is really, really vital. And they're still playing well. They got the point, so it's not the end of the world. Although they'll be a bit disappointed, they only got a draw. But Palace played really well. They got a lead late on. Eze with a nice header. Olise did really well to dig out that cross. And Palace will be really angry at themselves. They end up getting the victory.
Yeah, I think that Palace create some really good opportunities for themselves in this game, and David Raya comes out as man of the match once again for Brentford, and showing his worth as well, which is definitely a keeper that we should be looking at in the summer to replace Hugo Lloris. I mean, he's performing week in, week out at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, he's playing really well. Thomas Frank has waxed lyrical about him, saying he's one of the best keepers in the league, and he's playing like it every game at the moment. He's one who's really coming up trumps for Brentford more often. He probably earned them a point, kept them in the game.
Yeah. Let's move on and let's talk about Brighton against Fulham. Finished 1-0 to Fulham at the Amex. Both of us going for 1-1. And I was saying in this game that, in the build-up to this game, that these are the kind of games that Brighton usually do drop points in. And it was the case again. They left it late, Fulham. Again, Manor Solomon scoring with a couple minutes to go. Their new Israeli star. Really nice goal as well with Carlos Vinicius getting the assist. Brighton had a host of chances, though. They definitely should have got a goal or two in this game. But Fulham kept them out. Another big game from Leno as well. And Fulham take all 3 points.
They got away with one, Fulham. I think it's fair to say. They just dug in deep. They Brighton during the game had 2.22 xG throughout the game. Fulham only had 0.34. They had 5 big chances throughout the game. Brighton 5 big chances, which they all missed, and Fulham had no big chances. Ended up winning the game 1-0. So yes, these are the games Brighton can struggle in, but they've more than deserved the victory in this game. Really, really unlucky.
But when we're talking about Brighton dropping these points, usually they do deserve the victory.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just the Brighton thing, isn't it?
Yes, I guess, especially under Potter, it was. Under De Zerbi, they seem to be scoring more goals under De Zerbi than they were under Potter. But they'll look. It was one of those you just got to take on the chin and move on. It was a game they deserved the victory. They didn't get it. When it comes to like them having lofty ambitions for top 4 and stuff, I do think these kind of results will probably hold them back a bit. But I don't think they're expecting a real top 4 challenge anyway. I do believe, even though I think I don't know how many points behind us with 2 games with a game in hand or 2 games in hand. But you know, in terms of mathematically, that you'd argue they're in it. But I just think. They'll have too many results like this.
7 points behind us with 2 games now.
Yeah, so and do I really think they're going to definitely win those 2 games in hand? Not necessarily. So
I'm much more worried about Liverpool at this stage than I am at Brighton. It's exactly the same points in games.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're a fantastic team to watch. De Zerbi's doing a fantastic job, but unfortunately, these kind of results that will hurt them. They do seem to be slowing down a bit recently.
They do, yeah. I mean, they've had a couple of poor results recently.
And they beat Bournemouth in the last minute. I think last week as well, they didn't win. So they're starting to slow down a bit, but still playing fairly well.
Yeah. Chelsea, Southampton next. 1-0 to Southampton at Stamford Bridge. I went for 1-0 to Chelsea. Sim went to 3-0 to Chelsea. But Southampton take all 3 points. Another worldie from James Ward-Prowse. I mean, since the new manager's come in for Southampton, he's been brilliant. James Ward-Prowse for Southampton, getting regular goals where he hardly got one first half of the season. But what is going on with Chelsea? They just can't buy any points at the moment. They really can't. I mean, that's 2 wins in the league, and they lost 17 or something crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Like that.
Yeah, I think 16 games, 2 wins for Potter. In the I don't know if it's all comps or just the league. I think it must be all comps, but
must be actually.
It's worrying times. I have to say, I was watching this game. They missed a host of chances in the second half. Sterling came on at half time, made a real difference, and he missed some real chances. They had shots cleared off the line, blocking shots. They were trying their hardest to get that goal back. If they would have got 1 goal, they would have got 2 for sure. But they just couldn't get it in the back of the net. Obviously, Southampton. To be fair, Southampton though, when they got the goal in the first half, it wasn't completely against the run of play. It was a really good free kick from Ward-Prowse, but Kepa had already made some great saves, and they also had a shot cleared off the line themselves in that first half before Ward-Prowse scored that great goal. So they'll feel like they deserved it. They battled hard in that second half for all 3 points, and they got it as a massive 3 points to them for the first game since Nathan Jones has been sacked, isn't it? I think. So they get themselves up to 18 points, well in the relegation fight now. So that was a massive 3 points for Southampton. But Chelsea, I just think, look, they've got so many good players. It's surely only a matter of time before it all starts to click. But I just think Potter's got so much to weed through at the moment. He's struggling to put it all together. And whether the ownership is going to have patience with him is the big question.
Yeah, and he's like the old Ranieri Tinkerman at the moment, Potter. I mean, every week is like a different front line from Chelsea. And I think they just need a bit of consistency. Stick with the same players for a few weeks.
But think about it from Potter's point of view. He's got how many new players has he got?
I know.
He's not only got the new players that he's got in January, he's got the new players that they signed in the summer as well. They signed a whole host of new players in the summer. So he's got to find what the best formation is, who the best players are, who fits the system. And it's going to take a lot of chopping and changing. And that's what. And if Bowley doesn't think that it will, then I think he's deluded.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely spot on. But I think that if you want to have any aspirations for doing anything in the league this season, because they still can, there's still a long way to go. I mean, if they put a good run together, it's not beyond all realms of possibility that they can fight for the top 4. So, I mean, he needs to find some sort of solidity and some sort of attacking, consistency if they're going to do anything this season.
But the worry, I guess, for Chelsea fans and Bowley is, let's say they decide to run out of patience with Potter because it's not going right, and then they bring a new manager, and then he also has to tinker, and he also has to find the thing, and then he can't get it right either, and they still can't get top 4. and then a big mess.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Chelsea fans are getting very impatient with
I
Potter
think
at
they
the
just got to write off this season. I think it's a lot of change, a lot of new players. Maybe try they're out the FA Cup, aren't they? They're 1-0 down to Dortmund in the Champions League, but they could overturn that. Although the way they're playing is unlikely.
That goal from Adeyemi, man. What
Yeah,
a goal that was.
I think they just got to write off the season and like think to next season, because I think it's going to take all their players. Remember, is also they're very young. A lot of them are very young players, so it's always going to take time for it all to gel and come together. And I don't think any manager. Look, you could probably argue there's some managers who can get better results than Potter's getting, no doubt about it right now. But I don't think there's going to be any manager right now who can get them competing straight away.
It just doesn't seem the players believe in what Potter's trying to do. I mean, they just don't seem at it at all. I mean, I'm seeing the players come out and like, I'm no like expert in this or anything, but like you're seeing like body languages, like head stooped low, crouched over, and it just doesn't look great from the Chelsea players at the moment.
Fair enough.
But anyway, next up is Everton against Leeds. 1-0 to Everton on the day. I went 1-1. Sim went 2-1 to Everton, so he gets a point for this one. What did you make out of this game? I didn't see it too much, but Seamus Coleman rolling back the years in this game.
Yeah, I was actually watching the Chelsea game and I was watching the Man City game, so I was keeping an eye on this. From what I saw, Everton were just keeping it solid. They were very much. It wasn't a great game of football.
Not one shot on target for Leeds in the game.
It wasn't a great game of football overall. It was not. There was not a lot of quality on show. Everton were just basically making sure they kept a clean sheet and not gave Leeds anything. And then they got their goal. Big. I don't know. Is it a slice of luck or did he mean it? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it.
The ball goes in behind. The ball goes in behind the right hand channel. Seamus Coleman's like running after it. I don't know if he just seems to. Does he catch Meslier off his line, or does he just think I'm just going to put this in the penalty box and see what I can do?
I don't think he meant it.
Don't think he meant it with a cross. You think it was just a miss hit cross?
So. Yeah.
I mean, Seamus
Coleman.
Does he have the quality to really put that in the back of the net from there?
Like a 34-year-old Seamus Coleman?
Yeah, surely he didn't mean it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you thought he meant it. But it would have been. It's a great goal if he did actually mean it. 'Cause it's a great finish from that angle as well. To get that in is unbelievable. But surely he didn't mean it.
Yeah,
he claims he did though.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. Can't he just be happy with him getting his winner? But look, you said to me in the build-up to this game, Leeds are going to get dished, and that's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened, yeah. 1-0 was exactly how I thought it would go. I should have said 1-0. I shouldn't have said 2-1.
Yeah. Nottingham Forest against Manchester City up next. 1-1 in the big game at the City Ground, which extends Forest's unbeaten run since September at the City Ground, which is unbelievable.
Wow.
Some of the games that they've played there as well, they've beaten Liverpool. They've got the points off Man City. They lost to us. We were the last team that beat them there, right? Which is crazy. But anyway, I went 3-1 to City. You went 3-0 to City. And it probably was a 3-1 game. Erling Haaland missing two unbelievably presentable chances for him to give all 3 points to City. And just looking at the stats, 6 shots on target, 23 shots in total to Nottingham Forest's 1 on target and 4 in total.
Well, look at the XG, 2.4 XG for City, 0.95, 5 big chances for City, all 5 missed. And you got to think of the goal they did score as well. Bernardo Silva banged it in from 25 yards. That was the one they pretty much scored the hardest chance they had. And then they missed all the easiest ones. There was, obviously the highlights were Haaland with that double miss, hits it onto the bar, then it rebounds back to him inside the 6-yard box and he blazed over the bar. And then there was another one where Foden goes through on goal. He's got a 2-on-1. He's got Haaland to his left. He got caught in two minds. He slips, tries to pass it to Haaland, and the chance was gone. And those were 2 massive moments for Man City, which they didn't make the most of. Keylor Navas was in inspired form. And then
he's
Forest.
Been unbelievable, by the way, since he's joined the Premier League.
Yeah, is Henderson injured or something? Is he on the bench?
He's injured. I think they're just picking Navas instead.
I don't know if he's on the bench or not.
No, he's not on the bench.
So he must be injured. Maybe
Wayne was on the bench.
So must have a long-term injury. That's probably why they got him. But he's been brilliant. Keylor Navas. He was in great form. He kept Forest in the game. And look, they didn't concede those chances. They got a lot of luck. No doubt about it. But look, when the chance came, they took it. And Chris Wood arrived at the back post, snatched a draw, and a great point for Nottingham Forest. Man City will be absolutely kicking themselves they didn't win this game. Absolutely kicking themselves because it was 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, you play that game out and Man City win that 2-3-0. But we live in the world of the 1 out of 100.
Yeah, we do, and especially after watching Arsenal, the way they won that game earlier on that day, it must have been a massive kick in the teeth, especially as they finally went on top of the league last week. Massive kick in the teeth for Man City there. But let's move on to Wolves against Bournemouth. It finished 1-0 to Bournemouth at Molineux. Both of us went for 1-0 to Wolves, but it was the opposite of 1-0 to Bournemouth. The man of the match was the Bournemouth goalkeeper, so that kind of tells you how the game did go. I mean, 15 shots in total for Wolves and only 5 for Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth got away with one here a little bit.
A bit, yeah. I think they didn't concede many clear-cut opportunities, to be fair to them. Like, if you look at the XG, it's fairly tight. 1.29 to Wolves, 1.07 to Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth did create the best opportunity of the game, and they took it with Tavernier. And I think with Wolves, you're going to get this sometimes with Wolves.
Yeah, I agree. But with Wolves, like even with low XG, shots and chances, they can put them in the back of the net with the likes of Ruben Neves and Sarabia and all those kind of guys.
True, but you can't rely on it every game.
Not.
And so there are going to be games like this where they'll get unstuck. And I think they're actually more suited to playing like, for example, like a Liverpool or someone where they can counter attack and they can use the space with their forward players and their midfield players. But when it comes to teams like Bournemouth who are going to sit tight, sit deep, and make it difficult for them, that's where they're going to come unstuck a bit, and that's what happened in this game. They got frustrated. Lopetegui is a manager who, I wouldn't say he's a pragmatic manager per se, but he's not a manager who gets his team playing real free-flowing football all the time. So I would say it was just one of those games that when you have a manager, similar to Villa and Unai Emery, when you have that kind of manager, sometimes you're going to have to take these results on the chin with a view of in the long term you'll probably have better results overall, and you'll get better and you'll be more competitive against the bigger sides. But sometimes these teams will frustrate you.
Yeah, absolutely. And when looking at the league table, I mean, a few weeks ago everyone was saying Bournemouth 100% going down. Out the relegation zone now, point above West Ham in 21. But there's still only 3 points between bottom and 16th Everton. And to be fair, when looking at it, Wolves, Leicester and Nottingham Forest are not out of it, are they?
Not at all. I mean, it's only between 12th and 20th. There's 8 points, so it's really tight.
I was listening to, I think it was a radio. They were saying it that Aston Villa are the only team in this league pretty much not playing for anything.
Aston Villa, what? Because Chelsea are looking up,
Yeah.
Palace are looking down, and Villa are just in the middle. Yeah, it's probably fair. That's why I can't see. Yeah, Villa aren't going down. I think Palace will be safe in the end, although you got to be worried by their lack of wins. But at the moment, Forest and below, it's literally anyone's at the moment. Absolutely anyone's. Forest on good form, but I wouldn't put it past them. Going on a bad run of form and getting dragged real back into it, especially with the teams below them. They got like you could argue like a lot more quality, like especially in that forward lines and stuff. So it's going to be very tight, but. I think Wolves will be okay in the end. I think when push comes to shove, I think Lopetegui will get the points. I can't say the same for Bournemouth.
Whatever striker they buy, Wolves, nothing seems to happen with them. I mean, Cunha hasn't scored yet.
Cunha's not really a striker, though. They're playing like a false nine. He's more of like an attacking mid, so it was always going to be a weird one for me. So I mean, like Cunha
Fair
there.
enough. Next up is Newcastle against Liverpool. Finished 2-0 to Liverpool at St James's Park. I went 1-0 to Newcastle. You went 1-1. No points on the board there, but I mean, Liverpool take the lead early on with Darwin Núñez. And then what is Nick Pope doing in 22 minutes into the game? Gets himself a straight red, out for the cup final against Manchester United this weekend. I mean, what is he doing? He's had so much praise this season, had such a good season. And this game he ruined by a moment of madness, really.
Yeah, it's just one of those moments. I think it just happens sometimes. I mean, we know more than most about the things happening with goalkeepers. So I think when it comes to Nick Pope, he's had such a stellar season. I think you just got to chalk up to one of those things. I don't think you can lambast him too much for it. It just he mistimed it. It's awful timing, you have to say, because now they're going to have to play Karius because Dubravka can't even play. So the timing is terrible. But you just got look. He's a bit of a plonker for coming out like that, slipping and then grabbing the ball. I can't believe there are even suggestions that it's a harsh red card. Have you seen these suggestions?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I know Eddie Howe is really unhappy that his keeper is going to be missing and it's a big miss. But look, Salah would score. He's through on goal. Everyone's saying, is he last man? There's no players ahead of Salah.
Yeah.
If Pope doesn't grab the ball in like that, Salah's does take it and he's got an open goal. So I can't see any sort of suggestion that it's not a red card. It's a clear, blatant red card in my opinion. And Liverpool already 2-0 up at that point, so it was game over. Nunez and Gakpo, obviously, both. And worrying thing from Tottenham's point of view, or their rivals' point of view, is Nunez and Gakpo are starting to score now. A few games in a row now, they're getting on the score sheet. Nunez, that was a absolute hammer of a finish, brutal finish past Pope, and then Gakpo with a good run, and he's starting to get acclimatised with Liverpool now. So it's worrying.
Gakpo from what you've seen.
I mean, I don't think he's had a great start to Liverpool, but first few games,
scored, has he been playing well?
Yeah, last few games, he's definitely upping his game. He's getting better. He's getting better.
When you're looking at Liverpool's next run of fixtures, I mean, they go Palace away next, Wolves at home, Manchester United at home, Bournemouth away. I mean, a few hard games in there, but like if they come through these 4 games with 4 wins, then we're in for a battle, aren't we?
For sure, I think we're in for a battle anyway. Liverpool, they've always got that. Look, we've seen it before with Liverpool. Even there was that season when they had all those injuries at the back.
Finished fourth.
And yeah, look for all to see that. They were, for most of the season, they were like 7th or 8th. And then they had a late run in the season and snatching that top 4.
Yeah.
Alisson scored. So we know Liverpool, that was even worse than this season, probably. So I think if they can claw it back from that situation, you can never rule them out.
All right, let's move on to Manchester United against Leicester, which was the first game on the Sunday. Sim went 1-1. I went 2-1 to Man United. It was 3-0 to Manchester United in the most un-3-0 game I've ever seen, literally. I mean, Leicester completely battered them in the first half and should have got a goal or 2 at least. But to be fair to Manchester United, they battled back in the second half and got 3 really good goals, to be fair. Jadon Sancho proving to Eric Ten Hag that he's still here to join the party. And I think Ten Hag, the way he's managed this Jadon Sancho situation has been absolutely spot on. And I've been really impressed with the way Ten Hag has managed this squad when he managed the Ronaldo situation, the Jadon Sancho situation, and just getting the good football back to Manchester United as well. So I think they're on the right path, man.
And getting the best out of Rashford, the form Rashford is in. He looks more confident than ever. I've never seen Rashford in this kind of vein of form before. He was probably the difference in this game, because Leicester will be kicking themselves. They won at least 2-0 up in that first half. They were creating loads of chances. De Gea was an inspired form. He made 2 brilliant saves, most notably from Iheanacho, kind of clawing it back, Gordon Banks-esque with an absolutely fantastic save. And then a minute later, or a couple of minutes later, United go and score and make it 1-0. And that's got to be a bit of a hammer blow if you're Leicester, creating all those chances, and then all of a sudden you're 1-0 down. That's got to be really disheartening. And in the end of the day, I think they lost confidence going to the second half, and tries their might to get back in the game. United hit them on the counter once, and then all of a sudden it was a flurry of opportunities. United completely dominated that second half, to be fair, and very much deserved the victory. But if Leicester would have scored one of those opportunities, I reckon we're looking at a different game here in the second half.
Are United in this title race?
No. I mean, they are mathematically, but I don't think they're going to be consistent. Look, they're doing well. They are doing really well. Rashford's in amazing form. I just think I don't think they're going to be able to keep it up. From what I'm seeing from them, I think that they're going to fall short. I think they're good for a top 4 place, but I don't see them battling for the title.
Well, let me tell you this: over the past 10 games, they've picked up more points than anyone else in this league.
Yeah.
Over the past 15 games, they've picked up the same amount of points as Arsenal. So judging on that, I mean, surely they are. I mean, with the way that Arsenal and Man City are playing at the moment, Arsenal 1 win in the last 4, Man City, you never know when they're going to drop points. If Man U keep plugging away like this, surely they're going to put themselves in the conversation, or if they're not already.
I don't think they're going to have the legs to keep up with City and Arsenal, in my opinion. I think they'll drop off. And I think they've done extremely well over the last 15 games. They're playing really well. Rashford's in an unbelievable vein of form. But let's say the goals slightly dry up for Rashford. Do I see them continuing to win games the way they are? I don't know.
And we got to talk about Sabitzer as well. Like, what the hell, man? Like, that was the most nastiest challenge. Could have been a really bad one. Could have inflicted big injury. Not even a booking.
Yeah, it's a shocking decision. I thought it should have been a red. VAR should have taken him to the screen. I think
red in 3 games.
He got lucky. He got lucky that maybe slightly pulled out the challenge. at the last second, although he still made big contact. So I think he got very, very lucky. United got lucky on that occasion. And I think, this game kind of it's one of those games where it fell for United this game, but in another day, it could have gone very differently for them.
Next few games for Man United, obviously they got Barca, Newcastle and West Ham in the Cups, but they go to Liverpool next game. Their next 4 games in the league: Liverpool away, Southampton at home, Brighton away and Newcastle away.
So we'll see where they are after those next few games.
If they do go on a run these next 4 games, would you put them in the conversation?
If they win all those games, then yeah, you have to.
All right, let's move on to the last game of the weekend, which was Tottenham against West Ham United. 2-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. Sim went 2-0. He gets a big fat 5-pointer for this one. I went 1-0, so just 1 point for me. And look, I thought it was a really deserved victory for Tottenham. I think West Ham probably had about 10-15 minutes at the beginning where they put a bit of pressure on us, but apart from that, I thought it was the poorest West Ham side we've seen at our place since our stadium has opened, and the quietest their fans have been ever since I can remember, to be honest. I think so. Good, well-deserved victory for Tottenham, in my opinion.
The West Ham bubble very much burst on Sunday, that's for sure. Yeah, I think we dealt with them pretty simply. Obviously, Emerson opening the scoring, and then and obviously we sealed the game with Son later on after a good substitution. And I think that we deserved the victory. I think we pretty much had West Ham under control for a majority of the game, apart from a little spell early on. I think West Ham, Antonio, he just never had a kick. They couldn't get him in the game. They couldn't hold up the play. Bowen was probably their sharpest player, but he only had maybe 1 or 2 openings. West Ham just look very short of ideas at the moment, and Moyes just looks like a man under pressure, especially the way he's speaking and
you want to see the colour of their eyes.
Exactly. So all these things like all these sayings he's coming out with, and the West Ham fans are piling the pressure on him after some really good years. You just get the feeling that I don't know, it feels like it might be coming to an end soon.
Yeah, we've been saying that all season, though, haven't we?
I mean, they're still in the relegation zone, man. They're 18th, 1 win in their last 5. They're not scoring goals. They're not scoring. They've got 2 goals in their last 5 games. They've got 19 goals the whole season in 23 games. I mean, they're just not scoring. And especially with all the talent they have, that's not great.
Yeah, I mean, they were European semi-finalists last season, and now they're in the relegation zone. So it looks as though the writing is on the wall a bit for David Moyes, but in my opinion, I think they should keep them in the role for a bit longer, to be honest. But it was lovely to end this weekend back in the top 4, West Ham in the relegation zone. Shame we couldn't have it all the way because Arsenal were top of the league. But we got Starman as well. We both picked João Felix. Chelsea didn't score a goal this week, so 0 points for that one. So we do finish off 209 to 225. So you cut the gap a little bit. But we'll see how we go this weekend. More Premier League predictions will be with you around Thursday time. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
come on you Spurs.